Streamy Summer. Get it? Streamy? Get the joke?
I get it.
Okay,
Yeah, I
okay,
know.
okay,
I was
okay.
okay.
We're on.
All right, well, good afternoon all. As always, I will wait to be sure that you can hear me and that my volume is good before I go into the update. So let Max know.
Everyone says hi. They can hear you.
Okay, well, first I have to start this update, or this case, this wrap-up, not an update, this wrap-up with obviously not good news, the horrific attack in Nice is a terrible blow to the people of France as well as to people all over the world who were injured and unfortunately in far too many cases killed. So the sympathies of the studio, myself, go out to everybody involved. Well, almost everybody. It was a terrible, terrible blow, and of course we're all very sorry for what you folks over there, whether you live there or visiting there, had to go through yesterday. So, again, our sympathies and best wishes to, almost everybody who was involved in that terrible tragedy. So, that being said, wrap up for this last couple weeks has been a very good one. I have an excellent top 10-ish list that we'll talk about now. We're working on the big update for the week, and that will be out hopefully in less than 2 hours after I wrap this up. And, we're ending strong. So let's just get right to the top 10. First, nice big one actually. Last week, while I was happily sailing the ocean, Andrew made a decision to work on some code that he thought needed a refactor. It's a new, not a new branch, but a new bit that hadn't been looked at in a while. And based on his work and the work of some of the other programmers who worked with him, in today's meeting, he swung for the home run with it. So that is really good. What it really boils down to is it really improves the ability of the server and, as you know, our proxies and our client to talk to each other, to relay information back and forth to each other. And the big win for you folks, it allows us to create new abilities much, much faster. So that was a really nice win, a nice surprise for when I came back from vacation. We also have other improvements to the client. There was work done, so now that our executable loads faster, the shader, we have shader debugging again, and we have more shader permutations. And for almost all of you out there, you know what that means. We're going to makes the game look better, load faster, and run faster. That's obviously very good things. We've improved logging in the game, as we all know who've played an MMO in the past, even say 2 MMOs that I worked on. The ability to have metrics, the ability to have logs that are really useful, helpful, and that actually work the way that they should, is kind of necessary for this game, especially as Ben and the programming team continue to do the rehab and create new abilities. Speaking of that, and I'll talk a little bit about this at the end, next week we're going to kick off a design session with Ben and Tim and Mark, who will talk about not a full presentation, more like a fireside chat. We'll talk about rehab, we'll talk about the new ability system, and some of the things you'll be seeing from us in the coming weeks. So, might be time to start getting a little bit excited about what rehabilitation means to our backers. What else? So, hey, we now have the ability to buff and debuff the timing of abilities. Brad, who we just put on abilities right before I left, has contributed that bit of goodness to the code branch, and that makes, abilities gets us even closer to having all of our abilities working. Block and counter attack are now being crafted in abilities. I think I talked about this before I left. This was something that we wanted to get in. It's now in, and it's working. So that's another push forward with the ability system. Equipment slots can now be independently buffed and debuffed. As you folks know, we have a lot of equipment slots in this game. And so now each one of them can be buffed or debuffed, again, independently, meaning that, of course, if you want to disable somebody's arm, if you want to disable their legs, any slot that you can have equipment can now be buffed and be debuffed separately. What else? Currently working on yet again another update to the UI for Cube. I know a lot of you folks aren't as interested in Cube as you are certainly for the main game. There we go.
Either way.
Hey, I've been off for weeks, guys. It's I haven't done an update in 2 whole weeks, so I guess I'm still boat lagged, ocean lagged, wave lagged. There we go. So that's gone in, so that's a good thing. On the art side, we've done a lot with the biomes, especially the one obviously we're focusing on. So we've made a lot of improvements, added a lot of new stuff to it. Also reduced the poly count, which is really good, really helpful, especially since we want to have these kind of dense, thick forests. And so anything we can do to make them render faster, not use as many tries, just what we need to do, and we've made some good progress with that. Fidgets, animation. So, you guys saw the stretch goal to do more with animations, and obviously one of the things we wanted was to add some elements that you don't want to say they're just for role-playing, because they really aren't. It's something that helps the game feel a bit more alive, even if you're not particularly into role-playing. And so we've been making some fun progress with that. In the coming weeks, you'll see Scott and Sandra do a small presentation on that, and then as the animation system gets further along, or the new animation system gets further along, we'll do a much more detailed presentation about not only the fidgets, but all the combat animations. Hey, we finished the high poly bows and arrows, and we're working on, continuing to work on shields and staffs and everything else. One of the cool things about frankly, the entire equipment system, and this applies to arrows as well, is that it's all mix and match. So you'll see just how you can really customize all your weapons when you look at the bows, when you look at even the staffs, what you're going to be able to do to make each of those items through crafting much more unique. And this is not just with stats, it's also with appearance. So next up, great swords. Those are always fun. The two-handed hammers and the Arthurian pole arms. So we're going to be working on some rather large and heavy weapons next. Next is we added the first pass of our blend maps to the terrain shader. So we can now have a greater variation in terrain with a little less work, which is a very good thing, and fewer textures as well, which is another very good thing. On design, the big win there is Ben has been working in our scripting language, which is right now a combination of XML and C# scripting to play around with the abilities and adding new abilities. He's been working very closely with Kim and Mark, and so as I said in the Monday meeting, the morning with Max, that is something that is moving along really, really well. They are right now pretty intertwined as a group, and so the programmers will finish something, show Ben will go, oh wait, but I need more, and they'll go, oh, and go back and do it, and it's actually quite positive when you see, and I can't wait. I mean, I'm trying not to get too excited about this, but when you see what we're able to do now as what we were able to do a few months ago, it's a sea change, folks. It's such a huge improvement to not only the way we create abilities, but to just the sheer amount of abilities that we can create, and the way they can affect everything is just exactly what I've been hoping for. And over the next few weeks, as we do the design sessions, you'll see exactly what we mean, or what I mean in this case, when I say we have the functionality that I've always wanted for this game. And it really is pretty cool. I mean, it's not even pretty cool, it's extremely cool. The ability that Ben has and that I'll have as well when I get to play around with it in a couple more weeks, it's just awesome. It's what we need as designers. It's what we need, for the game, and not only now but going forward, because it really does touch on everything. It's not just the abilities. It's banes and boons. It's what we can do now with adding any of these things to projectiles, or projectiles before could only do straight damage. Now, anything we want. This is what we've needed, and it's been, I know, a long few months. It's certainly tearing apart all the code that we have had to tear apart and exercise from the code base has been hard. It's taken a long time. Certainly by our standards, it's taken longer than we had hoped. But we're already in better shape than we were not only a few weeks ago, but certainly a couple months ago. And I cannot say again, and I cannot say enough, just how grateful we are for your folks' patience. It's going to be rewarded, and that time is coming real soon. Again, next week we start the design sessions, so that should give you a pretty good idea of where we're at. So that's it for the update, for most of the update. Also, we're hoping to have a cube push. Not sure on that. We're still trying to track down one last bug. It's unfortunately a crashing bug that if you crash, it could screw up your saved file. So that's what we're trying to make sure isn't still happening. And if it is happening, and this is a new bug, which we think it is, then we won't do a cube push. And if it isn't, or we fix it, if it's an old bug that we still haven't found, or it's fixed, which hopefully we'll know very shortly, we will do a cube push. But that will be in the update. I'll let you folks know. So I think that's it for the top 10-ish list. We have a lot more coming in the user stories. I think the count was 150, something right around there, in terms of completes. So there is a lot that you're going to see, hopefully in the next hour, if not in the next 2 hours, about what we have done over the last few weeks. And it touches on everything there, and obviously so much more. More about design. I think we have some lore items from you, Max, right?
From last month, yeah.
Yeah, so we've got some lore stuff there. We've got more from art. We'll have, obviously, art update as well as part of today's update. So yeah, we have so much in this update. It's another really strong one. So given that this was about 15 minutes, I'll do about 15 minutes of questions. So ask away.
Alrighty, folks. Ask your questions for MJ. And in the meantime, we have something funny from Jail Veal. Hi, I'm a human Black Knight main. I'm just wondering if we're going to be buffed next patch because we're not OP yet. Wink, thanks.
Yes, we hope to get you OP certainly by next week. I mean, we want to open a cash shop for that as soon as possible. So, you know how important that is to us, to find ways of getting more money from you folks. So, yeah, coming soon.
All right. Odilvik asks, has the new ability functionality opened up anything new that was never contemplated before? And could you give an example?
I don't want to say never contemplated, because when you have a studio that talks as much as we do amongst ourselves, it's hard to say that anything that hasn't been contemplated. But I think Ben can tell you that there are paths that we can go down now that we knew certainly we would not be able to go down under the old system, certainly not as quickly as we'll be able to do that. So Ben and the guys can talk about that next week. But yes, you're absolutely right. There are things that we know we'll be able to do that we wouldn't be able to do certainly under the old system. And with the way the new system's configured, it really will make adding things so much easier. And as we've mentioned before regarding the new system, if you're a little bit more curious about the technical details, look up Entity Component Systems on the web, and they'll give you a pretty good idea of the path we're going down. So it's a very cool way of doing things. Frankly, it's especially for this game, it is the necessary way to do things.
Heartfire CU asks, Mark, on the 15th of June at 5:59 p.m., you wrote about a Builders Brigade program. As someone who loves and lives Cube, is there anything new about it? I haven't been able to sleep since the moment you said it.
Yeah, you and a few other people, including Necro. Yes, next week, that is on my to-do list to move forward with the brigade. This week I was catching up on some things, and frankly, again, it sounds like wave lag or something, but I certainly had a couple of days that I would have thought after vacation I'd be all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and instead I was absolutely dragging my butt one day, and then on yesterday I had one of those headaches I get when something just needs to come out, and I spent all yesterday helping that idea come out, which unfortunately was not the Builders Brigade or the crafting document if Adri happens to be in the chat. But next week, Builders Brigade is absolutely on my list. What I can tell you is that it's going to be similar to what we're doing with the Mod Squad, and that is you sign up for it. You'll have to sign an agreement with us, just like the Mod Squad guys do. It's really basic. It's essentially a modified what amounts to a modified version of what you guys have all agreed to with the TOS. And then if you're really helpful to us, you get recognition, you'll get in-game credit and out-of-game credit on the website, as well as prizes. And those prizes will vary based on your contribution. So whether it's streaming, whether it's helping build structures that become part of the game, suggestions, anything that helps us move Cube forward and move CU forward becomes a win, for both the studio and for you, just like the Mod Squad.
Fubu Wu asks, sounds like the ability's new structure is much more robust. Does it help also in making changes if a boon or bane needs to get changed or removed?
So much easier. So much easier. I mean, like I said, I've told you folks from the beginning that I won't get on the hype train. It's hard at times not to, especially with the ability system. But yeah, it's exactly what we need it to be. So whether it's to remove things, change things, add things, it's going to be light years easier than it was before, and not only easier to change, but also far more secure, less fragile, less brittle, and I'm really looking forward to having you folks see the presentations that we're going to be doing over the next probably month on the ability system. And by the way, don't use the month as a date for anything. It's just, it's the middle of July. So, you know, a month from now is almost the end of August. So expect a number of presentations before then.
Adri Cotigia is saying, yay, Crafting Duck.
Yeah.
Faderoll asks, how do you guys plan to do any kind of expansion content? It tends to be really frustrating to see a lot of MMOs focus on building new islands every content cycle, rather than keeping the original areas relevant, pretty, and not outdated.
A great question. So the good news there is that our initial focus, and focus for quite a while after launch, is the extender packs. I have been crystal clear on that. I have said right from the beginning, we're going to have both extenders and expansions. Our first mission, and it is our most important mission, obviously, is to make a great game. That goes without saying. Second mission after that is, after launch, to realize what isn't great and to fix it, to improve it, not to make an expansion. That's where the extender packs come in, whether it's via stretch goals, such as the ones we've already had, or other ones that we think are important. We have to do that first before we go and do any major work on a paid expansion. So for all of our backers, for all of our players, that will be a winning strategy, because you'll get the best of both worlds. You'll get continued improvements to the games, and better yet, you won't have to pay extra for them. So I kind of like that. I kind of like that plan, and I like going down that path. That's something that I very much believe in. As you folks know who played Dark Age, know that I did a similar thing, even though we had expansions there as well, with that game. We were always adding new content. We were always improving things. I believed very much in that. Believed in it as well for Warhammer. I haven't changed. I think we need to do the same thing. I want to be very proud of us, just as I was at Mythic, for the way we treated our customers. We're not always going to be right, and occasionally, like any other company, we'll do something dumb, because we always do. But what we will absolutely do with expansions and extenders, or anything else, other term we come up with, we will do it the right way, which means making sure that before, just like frankly we're doing with beta pledges, before we ask for anything else in terms of what your contributions will be, we have to earn that right. And we will earn that right by extenders, by fixing bugs in the game, by improving the engine, doing all that before we go, hey, now it's time to do a paid expansion. So, long answer to a short question.
Odelvik asks, after the ability system is finished, what's the next big challenge for the programmers?
Let's worry about this challenge first. We've got a few challenges that we're working on right now. Obviously, we've talked about the re-ep system. We've talked about the islands, that they have to be bigger, that we have to have seamless travel between them. We have to have the physics system working across, a very big island. We have to have destruction working with a lot of structures in the world. We have to have the animation system working the way we intended to work, the nice fluid combat that we all want and expect for this game upon launch. So we've got a lot of things that we have to work on, but the linchpin is the ability system, because without that, you can't have combat. And it's certainly combat that's fun. So that's what our focus is right now, and will be for a little while longer.
All right. Wolfspin asks, since gear slots are targetable, Are there plans for spells that increase weight of, for example, an enemy's plate armor?
Oh, I think weight should be something you can affect with spells during combat. I think that can absolutely be something that would be a great way, to debuff somebody. If you're all of a sudden carrying a lot more weight than you should, or you buff them so you're a little bit lighter on your feet. I think there's certainly a long and interesting list of things that we could mess with now that we have the ability to target all the slots the way we can.
All right. Valiant Kale asks, in regards to the ability system, how much of it is general, as in all classes have access to it, like, say, a weapon swing, or is it all class specific?
Oh no, it's all generic. We can attach it to where we want it to be. Making it all, if we were designing a system where everything was based on the class itself as opposed to being an ability which is then added to the class, we'd be doing it, backwards. We want to be able to easily take abilities, take components, and put them wherever we want. That's the right way to do things.
Visir1 asks, will we be waiting for extender packs to add multiple new spells or components, or will they be a simple patch? I know you have the ability to make it a patch, but will that be good for balance?
Yeah, that's something we'll be dealing with. Now, as you folks know, you're going to be able to make a lot of abilities. That's the whole point of the system. So I don't think, and this is one of those, I shouldn't probably even answer that question now, because it is jumping way ahead. I think that based on the current design of the system, we won't need to add a lot of new abilities to existing classes early on. You're certainly going to have so much functionality to begin with that I think you'll have enough, but we'll see. Certainly it's something that, yes, can be absolutely easily patched. It's not something that needs, oh my God, we have to do a big expansion pack to do. Not at all.
All right, one more question?
Sure, we can do a couple more.
All right. So JL Veal asks, in my mind, I expect Camelot Unchained combat to look and feel heroic and fierce, nothing over dramatic. What is the goal with regards to this? For example, fast-paced combat, where decisions are rewarded slightly, yet punished severely. This scenario depending on a class-by-class basis?
So that's a tough one to answer because it uses, unfortunately, some fairly subjective terms. But I'll try. So what we said from the beginning is that this isn't going to be a game of twitch combat. Yet on the other hand, we've said you can do things like dodge projectiles. You can move out of the way of things, whether it is a projectile, whether it's a swing. There's no guarantee that something launched at you, even if you weren't trying to move away from it, will hit you. So right from the beginning, what you do and the decisions you make while you play are affecting your combat, but not in a kind of, key spamming, throwing out tons of instant abilities, or, button spamming dodge, or anything like that. So, will it be heroic? I guess that depends on your definition of heroic. There'll be things that would be heroic. Group spells, the ability to make things, that are very powerful, or to do attacks that are very powerful. That could be heroic. So, it's kind of hard to say, based on your question, what or will it satisfy you? I hope it will. Certainly your ability to create your own abilities, the way that positionals will work and reactionaries will work. That to me is heroic. That to me is decisions that you are making in terms of not only building your abilities, but in using them. The ability, again, to create, if you're a mage, to work with other mages to create big spells, the ability to work as a group, all of that, and have an effect as a group, all of that to me sounds heroic. You are absolutely right, though, that we're not looking for the kind of combat where you take a swing and it should shatter, a building, kill all your opponents because it's so over the top with its animation or effects. We're not going for that. This isn't that kind of game. We want a game where we can have large-scale battles. We want a game where it doesn't look like every time, again, you're swinging, the world should end. That gets really old really fast, especially in a game like ours. So I hope that answers your question. Certainly at the end of the day, what really matters is not how large the swing is or how beautiful the particle effect is, though those certainly having a great looking particle effect is certainly important. What is heroic to me at the end of this, at the end of the day, and it really feels like the end of the day, is being able to have those large scale battles, to being able to be outside the walls and watching these great spells or your siege weapons or the shields go up around the keep or town or whatever it is you're attacking, and being able to have that play out in real time. That's not a slideshow. To me, that's more heroic than anything else I could possibly, or Ben could possibly design as designers, because when you're in that kind of a battle and it isn't a slideshow, that's when you start to feel, I hope, the real heroic nature of this game.
All right. Do you want to?
Sure, that was a long answer. We can do a couple more.
A couple more? Okay. All right. Heartfire CU asks, Mark, now that Genesee is away, and we all do miss her, did you ever think about volunteer mods on the forums, which help you to manage them? I know it from other games, and it might be a solution. And what about volunteers in the game, later or now?
Volunteers. So volunteers, and especially when it comes to GMs or CMs or forum mods, obviously are a double-edged sword. It's something that has been an issue in online gaming pretty much since there was online gaming. Are we going to have volunteers? Yes. Are we going to have a new CM? Yes. So the first person we'll probably hire is a forum moderator, not a community manager. Unless, of course, I happen to find the right community manager right from the beginning, which would be awesome. But I just wouldn't count on it. The first thing we absolutely know we need to do, now that Jen is gone, though she'll be here on Monday visiting with family. The first thing we want to do is get somebody to manage the forums and to manage some volunteers we will have working underneath him or her. So that is absolutely the way we want to do things. In terms of in-game, we have to be careful, obviously, for those who aren't familiar with the volunteer situation. If you go too far with it, you end up being sued. And so we don't want to do that. And that's also one reason, as our mod squatters know and our Builders Brigade people will know, volunteering is great and we really do appreciate it, but I always like giving people something in return. And so I think all volunteers, whether they are on Mod Squad, Builders Brigade, or even one fine gentleman who has been helping us with gifting. I don't know if he's listening here. I haven't sent him an email yet to thank him yet again. We'll be finding that helping us via volunteering is both good for the game, for the studio, and you get a nice reward as well. Yeah, I should have mentioned that as the top 10, gifting. So that also went very well this past week. Wasn't in my list, I have to add it to it. We really did come through the test from most perspectives, really well. We did some, and the person who helped us really did beat up on the system, did some nice professional testing, and so we've got some comments back from him that I know we're already working on. So hopefully by next week we'll be ready to run another, and the reason I'm not saying exactly what kind of testing we're doing, it should be obvious, but hopefully next week will go well as well. And if it does, I'm going to be sending out a plea, begging, pleading, harassing, cajoling. How many other verbs can
Let me
I
open
find?
thesaurus.com.
Yeah. We need your help, okay? And I don't say this very often, but we do. We need, when the next time we put out a call for backers to help us test the gifting system, please join in. We can do only so much beating on it in-house and having some of the IT guys. We need more people. We're going to probably set up a test over next weekend to give you folks who can't do it from work or during work hours, certainly, a chance to come in. We need your help. We need you guys and gals to come on in, exchange tiers, try to break it. So please, when you see this email, and it will be for the full test and hopefully the last test, if you have some time, please come in and help us. The moment we can wrap this up, the moment I get Tim back as a full-time programmer on not gifting things, and Charles will also be freed up to do some other things for the studio. So please, folks, if you will have, the next time we send out this a message for the big and hopefully final test, if you have some time, please come join us. We really do need as many people as we can get from you to beat on the system and let us know not only whether it's working the way it should, and so far it's just done really well, but also whether there are things that we're missing because we've been too close to the problem for too long. So please keep that in mind. I'm begging. Next.
All right. Carefuls has asked a couple questions about small-scale groups. Will there be battlegrounds and or dueling? And if not, how will small-scale groups make a play into the game?
Well, we've been very clear that there won't be certainly battlegrounds in the traditional sense, especially unless, of course, you're a new player. And we've said that also from the beginning of the Kickstarter, that once when you start the game, we certainly reserve the right to have the equivalent of a starting zone or starting areas that the folks who are new to it can explore not only the system, but just how kind of interesting combat will be when you are making your own abilities. Other than that, we still don't have any plans for battlegrounds, for instances. In terms of how small groups are going to be viable, we've been very clear about that. Large world, lots and lots of things to do. If we were just focusing this game on a few keeps, or even a fair number of keeps and other structures, it would be much harder for a small group to be viable. In a system like ours, in a world like ours, where there are going to be so many different things to burn down, to raid, and I mean raid in the right way, not, hey, we get some guys and we go into an instance, but raid in the good old Viking way. That I think you'll find that small groups will be more viable in Camelot Unchained than in any other RVR PvP game you can imagine.
All right. Some more then. Vessier asks, this may be me jumping ahead again, but will we be able to create abilities used by guards that we hire to guard our castles and buildings?
So Say that again. Does he want to craft abilities for the guards?
Yes.
Probably. And the reason I am hedging is because we haven't discussed that yet, but the way things work, the answer should be yes.
All right. Beer Chug asks, you said specific body parts can be targeted for buffs or debuffs. How will that work in the game? Will you need to select a specific body part that the buff or debuff will impact?
Yeah, and that's something we've been talking about as well since the Kickstarter. Obviously, we want to balance out the ability to create your own abilities with the mind-numbing, soul-sucking grind it might feel like if you had to create God knows how many abilities, because you had to target each body part with the ability, or you had to create the ability that would target each body part as part of the ability, because obviously we have lots of slots, and that would mean that leveling your ability, improving your skills, building your UI would be pretty complicated. So the answer is no, we don't want to force, a UI on you guys where it'd be like, hey, abilities. Oh, wait, we need more abilities. Hey, we have more abilities. And you end up looking through what appears to be a small hole in a very large stack of UI buttons. So no, there's a compromise, obviously, that we have to make the game fun and to make it playable, even more important.
Here's a heartwarming one. Heartfire CU asks, Mark, I was thinking about a lifetime tier sometime later this year. I was asking myself if it won't be a problem for you if too many people buy a lifetime sub. To be honest, I feel a little bad about buying it.
Don't feel badly at all. And by the way, they're going to go away before we launch. So that won't be a problem. No, we're offering that now, obviously for two reasons. One, the most obvious, it certainly helps development. Certainly by making stretch goals, when the stretch goals are for additional programmers, that's nothing but a win. So any guilt you feel, I guarantee you should be assuaged by the help you're giving to the studio. If we were using these stretch goals for, I don't know, popcorn makers or things that really weren't important for the game, then yeah, that wouldn't be good. But all of our stretch goals, or the vast majority of our stretch goals, certainly going forward, will continue to be just like the majority of them have been lately, for more talent. As you've seen from our commitment that we've made already to opening up a branch office in Seattle, we're going to continue to do that. So the future stretch goals will be, again, not everyone, but most of them will all be pointing to ways that you folks are helping us deliver the game. And again, this game, not the game plus additional extenders or expansions, or a game that I've always wanted to make, or that you've always wanted us to make. Just the game that you're actually pledging and donating to us to make. So never feel guilty about that, because you are helping us. And that is more important now, or last year, or the year before, than anything that happens afterwards. Because that's what counts. We have to make this game. So I appreciate not only the support so far, but you're considering of buying the lifetime tier, and don't feel guilty, not one bit. And again, thank you. So
Extra quarter of an hour?
yeah, one
Seems
more
good.
question,
Oh, okay.
and look for one great question, and we'll wrap it up.
All right, folks. Give me a great question. That is the request to close this out with. And in the meantime, we have some silly ones.
Something really silly?
Yeah.
Okay, give me a really silly one while you look for the great one.
Hardfire asks.
Hardfire, okay.
Again, Mark, we, the people, watching the live streams, are worried about the fans on your office ceiling. Are they safe and fixed?
Yeah, that's actually not so silly. So the first time I came into the office with the fans and we turned them on, I was like, you know, maybe this wasn't such a good idea. Because you don't see a lot of office buildings with fans in them. I had asked when we got this space if they could put fans in, mainly because we had lived through not only the summer in the space right next door, but the years at Mythic as well. So, you know, they readily agreed, because as far as they were concerned, having fans in the office certainly was better and cheaper than having us as the folks who have more equipment in an office space than most, you know, companies do. And so, you know, they put them in quite readily. I can tell you from having to go up and fix one once that they're in there very solidly. But I know just how you feel. You know, when we up the speed on these things, it does kind of look like they might fly away and hit somebody on the head. But so far that hasn't happened.
We got a lot more silly questions after that.
All right, ask another silly one. Come on, guys. If you don't have a great one, we'll kill it after.
Why isn't everyone required to have a beard? That's not so silly. Can we have tea with Genesee on Monday?
We'll have to ask Jen when she
We'll
comes
ask.
in.
Fourverse asks, what would be a great question? What's the most powerful Pokemon you've caught in Pokemon Go?
I don't play it. Most of the offices, I'm not. I've been, frankly, way too focused on other things, which I don't know is a good thing or a bad thing. But I haven't even been tempted, you know, to try to catch them all.
Kanani Yahoo asks, when will you be able to build round towers in Cube? And Heartfire wants to know when we're going to update the team page so we can read about the new people.
That's also going to be starting in another week.
Oh, Doulos, you've been holding on to this one, I think.
He's got one.
He wants to know if you have a cryptic movie quote as a hint to something.
Oh, God. A cryptic movie quote. No, I don't. Usually I have to think about those for a little bit to get really cryptic. We'll see. See if I can come up with something before the great question.
Let's see. Jail Veal asks, what are the most important things that players should expect, reinforcing and making the Camelot Unchained experience everything we want and more?
All right, that's a good one. We'll end on that one. So, you know, let me be, as always, honest. It won't be everything you expect. It can't be. No game is. No matter, I've played so many games over the course of my life, and I've had some amazing experiences with games. Some that have really, you know, absolutely moved me. Others that I've had so much fun with. But they'll never be everything you expect. At least not if you have an overactive imagination like me. On the other hand, can it be the game that you have been waiting for a while? That's something that I would rather, you know, look at. Because I know that, again, it can't be everything. It just can't. Anyone who says as a developer that our game will be everything that everyone wants, they're selling you something. But can this be something exciting? Can this be a game that fills a niche, you know, for those who love, you know, RVR, especially in our case, 3-sided, you know, RVR? Can this be a game where you can feel comfortable investing a lot of time playing, where you know that sometimes bad things will happen, but not so bad that, oh my God, now I'm quitting. Is this going to be a game where you're going to feel like it's worth continuing to play, not for 6 weeks, but 6 months, or maybe even, we hope, 6 years or more? And I think the answer there is yes. We are trying, I mean, I don't even think the answer is yes. The answer is yes. What we're trying to do here is really build a game to last. And that's one of the reasons we're doing what we're doing with the ability system and why we're doing other things. We are trying to give you folks a game that you can feel invested in. Not that you've invested in the sense of money, but invested in because almost everything you do, you never want to say everything, because almost everything you do, you've had a say in. You've created your own abilities. You've built your own house. These are not, sandcastles to be knocked down. These are your own homes. We may be, again, a sandbox, but it isn't about sandcastles. It's not about abilities that are meaningless. It is these things that you are crafting yourself. You are creating your own, and this sounds a little hypey, but it's also fairly true. It's very true. You are crafting your own reality because you are crafting your character. Yes, we have classes, but within that class, there's a wide variety of abilities and combinations that you can create. Yes, we have crafters who can build, but they're building your home. And if you wanted, you could do it yourself. The world that you're stepping into is not pre-made. We wouldn't have created all the towns and the villages or all the encounters. That is what you're building. That is your reality. And, will that be exciting? Will that be what you've waited for? Will that be everything it can be? If it's close to that, I will be really happy. Because it's a game I'd want to play for a long time. And it's something that I've been waiting for as well. Yeah, I kind of want my own house. And I want the ability to, especially as mages, because I just love mages, to have the ability to make interesting abilities, to, try to tailor them more to my style of play. And I'll also know with this game, and you should know, obviously as backers, that's not a game that you can simply, I just decide to respec, every 30 minutes just because I can. And certainly there's nothing wrong with those kind of games. Every developer is certainly entitled to go down whatever path they want when it comes to something like design. But in our game, it's not going to be that way. So when you work your way up, whether it's, in any of the classes, or when you've built your home and you've built it just right, you've earned that right. You've earned it by playing, you've earned it by hopefully playing smartly, and you've earned it in the case of everyone who's backed the game up to now by backing this game into existence. Hopefully, that will fill that niche for you, and it is something that, unless you've backed a crowdfunded game, you can never say about any other game you bought, that as a backer of these games, you are helping bring this into existence. And that's pretty darn cool in and of itself. So hopefully that answers your question, and answers it in a way that makes you happy. And if not, I can try again next week. So that's it. Boy, it is now 4:55. So much for getting it done in an hour, though I am going to try. So look forward to the you can look forward to the update. It certainly will be out before 7. I hope you like everything in there. There's a lot of really good stuff. Obviously, the top 10-ish, which is going to be our new thing. We're going to call it our top 10-ish list, Max.
Okay, 10-ish.
10-ish.
I like that.
Yeah, thank you. I believe we probably should trademark it. I think Letterman
We
trademarked
need
top
more
10.
Yiddish in there, though.
Oh, that's true. I think you'll have a lot to that will make you smile, and you certainly will have some nice art as always to go along with it. I hope you've liked what we've been doing lately, certainly in terms, or showing lately, in terms of the new weapons. We've got a lot more coming, and I think you'll, at least I hope, you'll really like what you see. So that's it for today. As always, folks, we thank you for your support. And as always, part 2, this is just a wrap-up. Please remember, I choose my words, especially on a schedule, very carefully. These are just wrap-ups. This is so if there's anyone who's upset about, when's the update to beta? You'll get the update to beta.
When we get the streaming schedule for the next week.
Yep, when it says update to beta. These are just wrap-ups. The update to betas, the updates to beta? Yeah, I guess updates to beta will absolutely say update to beta. So that's it. Have a great weekend. And again, to all the folks who were in Nice, or to those folks who were related and know people who unfortunately were in Nice at that time, and to all the people of France and the world who were affected by this, our most sincere and deepest, condolences. Stay safe and have a great weekend.
All right, thanks for watching, and see you later.